actual real dollars, historical analysis would show you teachers in Alabama have taken a 20% pay cut since 1999. That is remarkable.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I wanted to respond to this piece in 1819 News. That made a very, it made a very interesting argument that I had never considered before. I had never considered this argument before, so I'm going to put it to you, Adam.
I gotta say, 1819 News will do that to you sometimes.
Yeah.
They will come out with something that you've just never really considered before.
Right. And so, it's worth considering, and so let's consider it. But the preamble to that is that Kay Ivey, in her State of the State address, Kay Ivey is the governor of Alabama, she said that she wants teachers in Alabama to have the highest starting salary in the Southeast. And this, I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Very laudable.
Very laudable words. And so to that end, she is proposing a 2% pay increase this session.
Wow. I hope she didn't break the bank on that one.
So, 2% pay increase. What is inflation now? Inflation is no longer 10%. Inflation is what, 6%? So that's a 4% pay cut. So she's going to have to do some work in upcoming legislative sessions. Well, if she wants to meet that goal.
She could also hope that the rest of the South gets worse. That's also an option.
That is another option.
See, you got to think about the different approaches you could take to this.
Yes, you're right.
Don't underestimate that.
That's another option. Although Arkansas just passed a huge bill to make the minimum starting salary $50,000 for teachers.
That's progress.
So we got to beat Arkansas if we're going to do that. So, 2%.
Wouldn't it be nice to beat Arkansas in education salaries and not just in football? That would be lovely.
Yep. And so, the reasoning for this is to, improve school performance and also attack the teacher shortage, which just attacking the teacher shortage is going to improve school performance because, just logically, if you fill the positions
with qualified professionals who are there every day,
right? With qualified, performance would improve. I don't even know how you could possibly dispute that. It's going to be easier for teachers to teach if they teach an appropriate amount of students. That just seems to be obvious. But Justin Bogie at 1819 News attempts to throw cold water on the idea that this would improve school performance. And this is the novel argument that we're going to consider here. And so he says that, look, people want to improve school performance. We should improve school performance. But is this really the way to do that? And, maybe we can look to historical, we can analyze the past, which this is something that we're in favor of. You're a history teacher. And so he says, let's analyze the past to see if that can give us any indication about whether or not improving teacher pay will improve school performance. Okay? So we're starting off with, analyzing the past to determine our path forward. This is something that we support. And so he says, Alabama's minimum teacher salaries have increased, get this, by over 45%.
Really?
Yeah. Since the 1999-2000 school year.
I have also grown a bit since then. A little.
Is there anything else that you can think of that has also grown by a significant portion since 1999?
Well, I mean, surely our bills haven't gotten higher since then, right?
Oh!
What about housing and education?
I wonder if
higher education.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So teachers' salaries have increased by 45%, but you're telling me, Adam, that the price of other things has increased as well?
I do believe that is the case, yes.
Interesting.
I believe that's... I know I don't get my talking points from the Alabama Policy Institute, but that's my understanding is that, yes, the cost of living has, in fact, gone up.
Okay. Well, let's just keep reading. Maybe he addresses this. We've only read one sentence, right? We've only read one sentence, so maybe there's something else he says. So, Alabama's minimum teacher salaries have increased by over 45% since 1999. The state's, and I assume that's how he would want you to read it. The state's performance in the National Assessment of Education Progress has shown little to no improvement, Adam, over that same period. Also, despite the 12.5% raises since 2018, Alabama's NAEP scores have only improved by 1 point in one category from 2019 to 2022. So he doesn't really address. That's fascinating. He doesn't, and so we've only read one paragraph, but I have read the entire article, and I can assure you that he doesn't address the rising costs of anything else in his article. And so let's do that. We're going to help him out here. We're going to help out our friend Justin Bogie. And so I followed his, because he links to something when he says Alabama's minimum teacher salaries have increased by over 45% since the 1999-2000 school year. He links to something showing teacher salaries in the 20th century. And in 2000, according to his link, and I don't know, presumably this is true. In 2000, Alabama teachers started at $29,790, according to his source. And in 2023 dollars, that would be $52,044. Wow. Wowza. So in 2000, Alabama teachers started making the equivalent of $52,000. That's actually kind of fascinating. That is more than I made coming out of college as a STEM major working for the federal government. In fact, I only passed that $52,000 within the past year or so. And I've been out of college for 4 years? Jeez.
Wait, so are you telling me that, at least in terms of salary, teachers may have had it better in Alabama 20 years ago?
Well, yeah, let's actually see. So, in 2000, Alabama teachers started at $29,790. We'll just call it $30,000, just easier to say. And in 2023 dollars, the equivalent would be $52,044. And so that's a pretty big increase. But what, Adam, do you know off the top of your head how much Alabama teachers start at today?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
we finally got it above 40K a few years ago.
Yeah. It is $43,000.
Okay.
Whoopsie. So in actual real dollars, the historical analysis would show you that teachers in Alabama have taken a 20% pay cut since 1999. That is remarkable.
Wow. That's something. I mean, that is not what he wanted you to get from that opinion piece.
And it is actually fascinating that despite taking a 20% pay cut, teachers have been able to keep scores relatively, flat.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're talking about quite a lot has changed over the past 20 years in public education in Alabama.
The past 23 years.
Right, 23 years. A lot has changed, and you go back 15 years or so and you have the Great Recession.
Yeah. And
in the aftermath of the Great Recession, you had some of the steepest cuts to education in the country happened right here in Alabama. What happened in 2010? You know what happened in 2010, Jacob?
I don't. Tell me what happened in 2010.
Turns out the GOP took a supermajority of the legislature, along with the judicial branch, along with the executive branch, and so they've had total control since 2010's election, right? And immediately after getting into office in this big Republican wave, they unleashed a wave of reform You know, they love to say it's reform. They had education reform, where they weakened tenure rights, where they created a second tier in the pension system, where they unleashed charter schools, and they established private school scholarships, where they established the failing school list, and on and on and on. It was several years back to back to back of just, you know, hit after hit after hit. And so when you're looking at a period of 23 years, it's worth noting that, you know, you go back 15 of those years, that's a huge period of austerity followed by right-wing education reform.
That's actually fascinating. So you're telling me, Adam, that if we look back at history on a different issue, we can actually see a lot of right-wing policies being enacted and similarly scores not improving.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing, right? If this is all about, well, we have to see the scores improve, demonstrate the growth, demonstrate the progress that you've made since 2010.
Interesting.
These have been, these are Alabama schools under Republican rules, right? Not AEA rules, not the liberal teachers lobby rules. These are Alabama schools under y'all setup. Y'all gutted the pension. Y'all manufactured a teacher shortage. Y'all cut the budgets. Y'all undid the progress that was made with programs like Alabama Reading Initiative. Okay? And then you want to gripe about scores. And it really, really bothers me, the obsession with the scores. To me, you know, all right, you've got me on a tangent here, but it's one of those problems to me when you try to approach public education from a capitalist mindset, because they want to be able to quantify and measure the education of a child like it's any other commodity. Right. But educating a child is a hell of a lot different than manufacturing tennis shoes. Common sense should dictate that you understand that, but, you know, as the old saying goes, common sense ain't always so common. So corporate reformers demand data because they demand accountability, or at least that's what they call it, accountability. But truthfully, education is a complex, holistic process. You can't just reduce it to a number on a spreadsheet, not legitimately. Right. I mean, you can try, but that's not a legitimate thing. And, you know, the obsession with the test, let's talk about the test. It doesn't matter which test you're talking about, really, at the end of the day. NAEP or ACT or any of the others that are out there, there's bias in the test. There's misalignment in the test, meaning the test doesn't always test what the teachers are required to teach. The standards in the state of Alabama course of study, they're not always aligned, right? So there's a factor. There's myriad situational factors that affect the results the day of. Some tests are better than others. Some are worse. You can dig into the data and, you know, you could pinpoint growth, or you can pinpoint disparities and perhaps find more utility out of it. Certainly more utility than this joker is putting out. They can tell you who's good at taking standardized tests. They're really good at that, which, as you can imagine, reshapes the curriculum around test prep. But what these tests are best at is reflecting socioeconomic factors of the students that take them. You show me a so-called failing school, and I'm going to show you a school with a lot of poor kids. You show me a blue ribbon school, I'm going to show you a school with a lot of affluent kids. There is a sea of research at this point spanning decades that is very clear that socioeconomic factors outside of school largely shapes the academic outcomes inside the school. Okay? That's not me making this up. This is not, some teachers union talking point. This is just reality. And I get that that's unfortunate for some people's talking points, but that's the harsh reality. Right. That many, including some in education, honestly, don't even want to admit that as long as Alabama is at or near the bottom of every single quality of life metric, Alabama schools are never going to be at or near the top. You can't separate what's happening inside the schools from what's happening inside the communities those schools serve. So unless Alabama is going to do something about the many layers of crisis that plagues our people, from poverty and underemployment to mass incarceration and lack of health care. Unless Alabama's going to do something about that, Alabama's not serious about education. I mean, and it's not lost on me that the very same folks who attack our public schools and decry our public schools being ranked so low are the very same folks responsible for Alabama ranking so low in literally every other category. Right. All right. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but you start bringing up test scores and education, that gets me riled up.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.